Hello and welcome to the first episode of Procurement Explained. We are your hosts, Grace Caprile and Rihanna Basul.
Hi, everyone. So, Procurement Explained is a new interview series meant to educate city staff and the local business community within the city of Los Angeles on what the city is and its various procurement practices, programs, and policies. So, to kick things off, we'd like to introduce our first guest here with us today, Shannon Hoppes. Yay!
Shannon, yes, Shannon Hoppes is a City of Los Angeles veteran and currently serves as the city's Chief Procurement Officer. A native Angeleno, she's a positive disruptor, always challenging the status quo. Shannon was one of the founding members of the Mayor Garcetti's operation team. Where she first laid out the path to create a holistic procurement ecosystem in the city of Los Angeles. Hi, Shannon. How are you today?
Hi there. I'm doing well and happy to be here. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Okay, Shannon, let's get to our first question.
Yeah, so hi Shannon. Great for you to be here. The Office of Procurement was created fairly recently, and today we really want to get a bit more about into your background, how you came to be the city's procurement officer, and also what your office does. But before we jump into all of that stuff, first, what is procurement?
That is a great question, and I'm so glad you asked because that question gets asked a lot. And it's really pretty simple. Procurement is the stuff the city buys and how we buy it. And we buy lots of things. We purchase lots of services, including construction services. We purchase all of these things for our operational needs. And I do want to give you a little bit of context. We spend approximately $4.5 billion each year. Procurement or purchasing is the city's second largest spend after salaries. So it makes up a very large part of our city budget.
Wow, 4.5 billion. That is definitely a lot of money. And can you tell us more about how you became Chief Procurement Officer and yeah, what inspires you to be involved in this space?
Well, let's see. My journey on how I became the chief procurement or city procurement officer started what seems like a very long time ago, but also feels really like yesterday. But if we're starting from the very beginning, I'd have to say that I came up through a family of civil servants. So it was really very familiar to me, and I felt like it gave me a lot of career opportunities, which it has. And it was really also a way to give back to my community. That said, I began working for the city back in 1994 as what was then known as the clerk typist for Recreation and Parks. Today, the position is known as an administrative clerk. I soon went on to hold different positions at Los Angeles World Airports, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and then onto the city clerk's office, where I was able to ultimately promote to becoming the executive officer. And while working in these various departments, I worked a lot on improving different processes, and that often meant challenging many of our norms, and that included procurement. Anytime my job touched procurement or contracting, I always wondered why it was so difficult and how it could be made easier, all the while thinking there really should be someone to help employees navigate or understand this confusing process. So, I had that experience really throughout my entire career. And so when given this opportunity to work on something that from the start of my career was so confusing, it was exciting to tackle it. As to how the Office of Procurement came to be, the Office of Procurement was started in 2015, partly due to the Garcetti administration wanting to focus on procurement reform. But this really, by no means, was a new concept. This had been attempted many times before, and the city had realized some successes in some areas with various reform efforts, along with the implementation of different policies and programs. But still, the city has always known that there's a lot of ways that we could improve this space. So I was fortunate enough to be put on loan to the mayor's office and became the first member of the mayor's operations innovation team. I really had no idea what I was in for. I thought I was going to go up there and maybe revise a few policies, maybe create a few new ones, but it was not that simple. I actually began by meeting with many of our city employees who were well versed in procurement. I benchmarked us against other large cities and agencies, including private sector, and learned that they all had a chief procurement officer, and that procurement officer oversaw all of their procurement and contracting. And that became a big distinguishing factor from the city's structure. So even though the city has some level of centralization in terms of our commodities and construction, our personal and professional services were really left completely decentralized. So if we as a city were going to really work towards larger reform efforts, which included, trying to make it easier to purchase faster, provide more transparency in the process, being more business friendly, while supporting our vendors and business community, then it was really going to be important to create an overarching office or leadership to bring some synergy across all of our departments and create more of an ecosystem. And that really was going to have to start with creating an official procurement office.
Definitely an interesting journey, your career-wise thus far, and how the Office of Procurement came to be. You touched on how procurement is decentralized. Can you explain a little bit more about that? And also, how does the office fit into that?
Yeah, so we're really here to complement and support the work of the departments. The office was put into place more to address the overarching policies, processes, and technologies around procurement. The office was formed to discuss, or actually really to focus more on the strategy behind procurement. We're not a team of buyers. However, we have worked to centralize our procurement data so we can make better decisions, better policies.
So, how is Office of Procurement meant to achieve this goals? Like, how is the office organized to prove it, I guess?
Yeah. Well, when I first became the CPO in 2019, we were only a team of two. I'm proud to say that the team has grown to be about 19 employees now, and we have them organized into three different groups. The performance management group, the support and assistance group, and the strategy and policy group. And a little more about what they do. Performance management is really in charge of evaluating the city's current procurement processes and technologies, such as our online bidding platform, which is known as the Regional Alliance Marketplace for Procurement, or RAMP. And then the support and assistance group is our front line in charge of regulating and answering any RAMP-related questions. And the strategy and policy team analyzes and tracks current procurement policy and strategizes how to implement them citywide. And I'm really excited to see where this team goes from here, especially as we work to improve the experience, the procurement experience for both city staff and the local business community.
Definitely. If you can touch on how are some of the things, or what are some of the things rather, the city focuses to help the businesses with regards to the contracting process, just to make it easier, better to understand for them.
Yeah. Well, one of the big things is to help them with all of the administrative requirements. We have a lot of administrative requirements, and they're really just that. They're requirements. Most of them legal requirements for various reasons. So it really does boil down to us making that part of the process easier. There's many vendors who don't clearly understand what's expected of them when submitting a proposal for a city contract. And then even once the awarding agency decides who's won that contract, there's a lot of back and forth and uncertainty about expectations, terms, tracking the progress of the project, and then the contract management itself. We're working to remove some of these administrative burdens by digitizing many of the functions, such as the bids, the forms, the certifications, and vendor payments. We want vendors to be able to track their payment status and status of their forms with the different departments and know when they can expect to hear back from the departments, as well as know when they can expect to be paid. We hope for that capability in our system to be built out by 2026. And one of the biggest administrative burdens that come with the contracting process is understanding the city's and vendors' responsibilities in the entire process. And a lot of that does come down to the compliance requirements. So we're in the process of creating a contract compliance guidebook and vendor guidebook. So city staff and vendors know what compliance documents are relevant to them, when they're due, and how they can successfully fill out the forms. There's really a lot that goes into creating a successful contract management process that takes time, coordination, and always some trial and error.
Definitely. I think anything that helps make the contracting process easier for both parties is always a good thing. But you touched on the coordination aspect. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the mayor or council and the business community, like their role in that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We work very closely with the mayor's office and the council, as well as the business community. We're working with the mayor's office through her business steering committee to relaunch the Los Angeles Business Portal and Contract Ready LA, so they can be central online portals for vendors to refer to about contracting resources and general procurement knowledge. We work with the council to help them better understand the inner workings of citywide procurement, potential policy, and then also identify some of the businesses in their council districts that may need our assistance. The external business community is also a very critical component of our procurement transformation. We launched our new, again, platform, RAMP, as I mentioned earlier, to include LA's regional partners, such as the chambers of commerce, the neighboring cities, school districts, and other stakeholders. And we really do meet with them collectively to get their perspective on contracting and procurement practices, which is critical to improving really this space. And I have to say, I mean, in saying that, it's just really taken a village to even start to transform the procurement experience for vendors and city staff. We've had all hands on deck and just a lot of interest from our internal stakeholders and external. It's required a lot of patience, trust, cooperation to have us all come together to really work on improving this space.
So now talking more about what your office does and the work you're doing, what do you hope to achieve as Chief Procurement Officer within the next 5-10 years?
There is so much I'd like to see us accomplish. We've been a growing office, so I'd like to see this team expand, not just in headcount, but also in scope of duties. We'd like to build out additional teams within the office, such as the Office of Inclusion and Employee Relations, to further diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts among our business community. We'll also soon see the completion of our end-to-end procurement system we're currently building, and that's going to be huge for procurement in assisting our vendors. And as I mentioned earlier, this is going to streamline the administrative process by digitizing electronic solicitations, bids, forms, certifications, and the vendor payments that I talked about. And again, that's expected to be built out by 2026. And RAMP is really going to need to be continuously updated. These types of platforms really should grow with us as a city and not be stagnant. So we want to continue to build out RAMP, specifically in terms of data gathering capabilities. We want to be able to better compile that data that we get from RAMP or that we can get from RAMP, so we can figure out how to best address department and vendor needs and create better policies. We also wanted to improve our outreach efforts. You can't do enough outreach in this space. So we have launched our social media accounts on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We're doing this podcast, and it's really in hopes of meeting vendors where they are. And expanding our current outreach. We also want to continue by connecting with more small businesses and the chambers of commerce and other regional organizations to get the word about the city's contracting resources and opportunities. We know we have a lot of big opportunities coming our way in the coming years, and we really want our vendor community to experience those opportunities and be well equipped for them. So there's, again, just so much to do in this space. There's so much I'd like to accomplish, and we've done really great work so far, and I'd love to continue to build on our momentum.
Definitely. It sounds like the Office of Procurement is really doing a lot of work to sort of meet the vendors and business community where if their needs are at, and sort of hopefully for the future even provide more resources for them. But again, thank you, Shannon, so much for joining us today for our very first episode of our podcast. You're doing amazing work for the city, and we definitely look forward to seeing you and what you and your team have in the future to do. So thanks again.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
This episode of Procurement Explained will be posted on our social media channels. You can follow Shannon and the Office of Procurement on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at LA City Procurement. Got any more questions or topics that you want discussed on the show? Feel free to message us on our social media channels.
Thank you so much, Shannon, again, and we hope to talk to you all very soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.